Good morning. Thank you for coming to Sandra P's Gen Extra. Sandra P is free to move about the cabin. So I'm on location. I'm not actually at home. I have a few things coming up that I'm going to be able to share with you later, but everything is still in the works. And I'm sorry for how everything looks. I had the camera off at first. I just want to make sure. I can't see what that is in front of my camera. Let's see. I may turn the camera off till I figure out what that is. Coffee cup. Okay, there we go. Thank you for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. Sandra P is free to move about the cabin, but this morning is actually an extra on Real Housewives of Orange County. I do watch the show. I don't recap or review the show, but I do watch, recap most things Bravo, and even behind some of the scenes of a lot of the shows. That's where the extras will come from. A lot of Below Deck I'll watch, but I don't review. But because Bravo as a network is so instrumental in a lot of the things that I do review, this extra, I just wanted to get on record talking about some of the things that are going on now. There is a situation. You see the title of the video. This is Real Housewives of Orange County Extra. Bravo is a trip. Bravo actually is a trip. I'm going to run my banner. As we know, everything on my channel, of course, is alleged. It's in my own opinion. Welcome in Sharon Galbo, one of the subscribers, one of my friends who is here and watches a lot of Bravo as I do. I'm not sure about Orange County, but I just have kind of a rant on that one. So she's saying, I'll put that up. Good morning to everyone. Let's see. There we are. Good morning. Welcome in. Thank you so much. What's coming out lately is something that has actually, is from the past. And it is Real Housewives of Orange County. And what's going on is, I hope that I can be heard. I've turned on the microphone, but I don't know that it's really connected. So I came out of where the public area was so I could just be heard. So I'm just in my room until I check out. Okay, naked wasted. That is a term that Tamra Barney at the time, she was married to Simon. This was a dinner party that she had at her house. You're going to start watching Orange County. It's worth it. Probably from about season 9 or so, you get to know some of the, I call newer ladies, because the veterans like Gretchen started in season 4, but the OG, Tamra, at the time, Barney, she was married to Simon, who she had a messy divorce from. She's now Tamra Judge. She married to Eddie Judge. And the extra on that, people were saying that she was cheating with Eddie at the time she was married to Simon. And they said that during one of the reunions. But there is an episode called Naked Wasted. It's from one of the earlier seasons. It's Gretchen's first season, actually. It's season 4, episode 8. Tamra Barney at the time, Judge now, has an adult son. At the time, his name is Ryan. His name still is Ryan, but at the time, Ryan was 23 years old. Gretchen was a very young lady. She was in her 20s as well. Gretchen came on the show dating, engaged to, because she was his fiance. Jeff had proposed. An older gentleman, Jeff. Jeff might have been in his 60s. I'm not sure. But he just always looked very frail and ill because, unfortunately, rest in peace to Jeff, he was diagnosed with cancer. He had children that were Gretchen's age. He was diagnosed with cancer. He treated Gretchen like a princess. He brought her a Harley microphone. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Those of you that went on the journey, I was going through to get, they did the braids. And then, of course, they always have to add a little extra. I'm not for the little extra, but I'm okay with it because what I'll probably end up doing is just putting it up. I haven't put all my necklaces and stuff out yet, so I'm just bare neck, so I just let it hang down. But thank you, I appreciate it. I hope to get a couple of weeks out of it. But Gretchen's first season, season 4, the first time we met her, Tamra had this thing about being the hottest housewife. She was supposed to be the sexiest, the youngest, I guess, if you like that type. Bottle blonde. She's just the type that I guess Orange County treasures. And so Vicki is an OG as well. Vicki was the one, she sells real estate, very career driven, very alpha woman personality. I loved Vicky's husband, Don, at the time. Don was always a card. He was always laughing and joking. He has a line that cracks me up to this day. Oh, well, can't eat broccoli without my best friend. They had, when Alexis Bellino and Jim came on, she couldn't be separated from Jim. They were big time Christians, self-proclaimed Christians. And Don had such a hilarious time kind of trolling them about them not being able to be apart. But let me go back to Tamra. Tamra hosted this dinner party. Y'all, Tamra was so trashy that during the episode, one of the plot lines was that she was taking an etiquette class because Simon was British. Simon, I didn't understand him at the time. She had Simon painted as a narcissist, and she's in this terrible relationship, and poor Tamra, but there was something not quite right about that whole thing at the time to me. And I'm just saying, over the years of watching Tamra, a lot of it is Tamra. There's a lot wrong with Tamra. She may be the narcissist. I can't diagnose anybody, but I've never seen Tamra fully apologize for anything. I've never seen her fully take accountability for anything. This whole naked wasted thing is coming back up because suppose there is someone involved that is a blogger. So now y'all pulling YouTubers and bloggers into these storylines. Kiki Monique, one of the characters, y'all, this is all over the place because it is. Katie Janella, she's the Asian lady. And I point that out because I feel like these other housewives are picking on her for that reason. In addition to, she is a liar. She does go back and tell things, but all of them do that. I think the big part of their problem with Asian is that Katie is that she is Asian. Again, the problem with Katie, for me, what I'm looking at is that she is Asian, and they feel like, to me, it looks like they feel like she doesn't belong there. That's what it looks like to me, because as far as lying, as far as bringing things back, that is any of them. So what's going on now with this whole naked wasted thing? Gretchen had a double date with Slade, who is her long-term partner. We met Slade years ago after Jeff died. Remember Gretchen's first season? She was with Jeff. Jeff was her fiance. During the reunion, we found out that, well, we didn't find out. I think it happened during the show. He had passed away. Poor Gretchen, because she was in the hospital with him. She's really spent a lot of his last days with him. And Tamra was someone that was always criticizing her about, if my husband and my fiance were in the hospital, I wouldn't be out at Bass Lake and all these places and going to enjoy myself. I don't believe Tamra. I think she would have gone wherever she wanted to go. And I don't see her putting her life on hold for anybody. So I don't judge Gretchen. Gretchen was in her 20s. But this whole naked wasted thing, Tamra took her little etiquette class. She decided that she wanted to throw a fancy dinner party. She had a chef brought in. Simon said, I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to let you do it. But Tamra is so tacky. He didn't trust her taste or anything about what she wanted. She was saying things like, we're going to do, turf and grill and all this kind of stuff, which the fancy dinner party she said she wanted, that didn't fit in with what she was telling the chef and Simon that was going to happen. Simon kind of took over. I felt a little sorry for her because she was upset about it. Simon kind of took over the event. They invited all of the cast, all of their husbands. We had Gina Keogh at the time. There's another Gina now, but this was the original Gina. Gina is an OG from season 1. She was married to a baseball player, Matt. And when they divorced, y'all, even though this was back in the late 2000s, they didn't move out. They were in the same house, and he was drinking a lot, and it was just not a good situation. This is original Real Housewives. This is what I love. This is why I still know that it can be good, and you can share your story even if it's messy. So Gina was there. I'm going to bring up Lynn. Lynn and her husband Frank were there at this dinner party. Lynn and Frank offered to give Gretchen a ride home. Tamra denied on Gretchen's behalf. No, she's just going to spend the night here. 23-year-old Ryan was living there at the time. Another wrinkle to the story, y'all. Ryan was the bartender that night. Ryan was also known to have a substance abuse problem, or that was things that he alluded to, or Tamra alluded to, or other people said, or was in the news at the time. My banner. Okay, I'm just gonna say that that's what people were saying at the time. Okay, about Ryan. So that's all the backdrop. Gretchen's fiance is in the hospital. Gretchen is new to this group. The other ladies are kind of looking at her with, if not indifference, Vicki, a side eye, maybe Gina. Lynn had been judged by this group too because she and Frank was a contractor. They didn't really have money, and Frank was always robbing Peter to pay Paul. Let me tell you how Real Housewives was. Lynn's daughter, she had teenage daughters. They bought one a car. They were served with eviction notice on camera. Bravo's cameras were there. Lynn and Frank were out, and the daughter calls them while they were out, and she said, "There's sheriffs at the door. They're shaking some kind of piece of paper." The piece of paper they were shaking, Lynn and Frank were getting that 30-day notice, y'all. So this was when Real Housewives was real, okay? I know I keep saying that because that's the reason why those of us that have watched Bravo and loved it over the years, even if you hate watch it and complain, there are real stories that we do accept because it's real people. So Tamara's throwing this dinner party. Ryan is the bartender. Everybody's taking tequila shots and things like that. And Gretchen is getting a little drunk. And Tamra whispers to Vicki, "We're going to make Gretchen do something stupid. We're going to get her naked, wasted." And Vicki kind of smirks and then laughs. "I don't care." Then we get a confessional with Vicki. Confessional Vicki says, "Whatever Gretchen wants to do, I don't care. If she and Ryan end up hooking up, I don't care. She can do whatever she wants to do." Now, nobody said anything about Ryan and Gretchen hooking up, anything like that. That's how I know these ladies were a whole mess. And it's very sinister because the reason why I say Bravo is a trip, Bravo, and behind the scenes, there is some kind of underlying attempt to kind of minimize what Tamra actually did. Tamra, in my opinion, should have never been invited back. But we've seen people brought back when they should never be invited back. A lot of people think that Portia Williams over on Real Housewives of Atlanta should have never come back. Same thing with Phaedra, should have never come back. Do I think both of them are good TV? Yes, I do. But if you do something that could potentially change the course of a person's life, I feel like the company that you're working for should take a stand and protect the people that work for them. So you'll never hear me say, "Oh yeah, I think it's great. I think it's fine. They're better TV than Candy. Candy's boring." I'm not going to say that. But when people bring up Atlanta, bring up Orange County. There's the naked wasted situation. They're trying to change it now. I saw Vicki on a podcast. She's talking to the guy, and he's like, a part of the storyline now is that Gretchen was saying that she thinks she was roofied. Gretchen has said on camera, she said that she felt so ill after that dinner party. She felt so ill the next morning. She ended up going to the hospital, and she thought that she might have had something in her system. Now, there's two things about that. Gretchen has said that she went to the hospital, and then she later on took that back and is saying she didn't say she went to the hospital. She's saying she went to the hospital and there were drugs found in her system. And then she gave the other story saying she never said that. Slade and Gretchen, the reason why there's a double date that came up with the newer character, Gina, the latest Gina that's on there. Excuse me, the latest Katie that's on there. Katie, Slade, Katie's husband, and Gretchen all went out. And Gretchen allegedly said that she felt like she might have been roofied and she went to the hospital and something was found. Now she's backtracking and she's saying that none of that is true. Kiki Monroe comes in because she's a blogger, and there are rumors that Katie supposedly called Kiki and wanted Kiki to spread this. I'm not familiar. I don't watch her, so I don't know if she spread it or not or what's going on, but she made an appearance on Real Housewives of Orange County. I have a problem with that when the bloggers and the people, I'd like us to talk about the show, not get so involved where you're trying to appear on the show. That, to me, that's kind of ridiculous. So if you have not watched Naked Wasted, I'll let you know that is season 4. It's episode 8. That's the title of the episode. It's Gretchen Rossi's first season. And Tamra, to me, did something that was, if not illegal, unforgivable. It doesn't matter whether or not it was an official roofie, because we know there are the R word, drugs. I'm sorry, YouTube, I just have to say it. There are date drugs. This is what Bill Cosby went through a whole court case because of this. Now, in the end, they ended up throwing it out because of misconduct, but he was convicted and was serving time for that when everything had to be thrown out. Vicki was on a podcast saying, I don't know, I never said, if you know Vicki, that's how she talks. She's 60 or so, but she's trying so hard to be young and keep up with the young girls. And she's, I don't know, was there even a thing? Was that even invented then? Now, this episode originally aired in 2009, so it's stupid for Vicki to pretend like she doesn't know whether or not roofing was a thing in 2009. If they could scoop Bill Cosby up for something that happened in the 70s, it was definitely a thing in 2009. They were invented. I think that's true. Sharon is saying that Andy loves Tamra. Andy does love Tamra. He loves his messier housewives. He does. And then let me show this other comment. Bravo has always been messy and shady. Yes, they have. Because the house that Bravo built, the house that Nene Leakes built, that's the Bravo network and the whole Real Housewives franchise. Nene Leakes, Andy loved her until he didn't. And when he didn't was when she started spilling some of his tea, calling that man all kind of names, saying she felt that she experienced racism at his hands at the network. And I do see a lot of that. Luckily, I don't work there, but I do see a lot of that. I understand what Nene's talking about. As far as with Kim being the only one on that show, Kim never cried racism. But Kim, to me, was receiving preferential treatment because she was the only white lady on that show. Kim was allowed to get away with a lot of things. She could never take a trip with them. There was always something going on. Well, the one trip where they went to Atlanta, Nene threatened to poke her eyeballs out. Bloop. But Kim got away with a lot. And we even saw her get a show when she got that Tardy for the Party show. And the show went on for seasons. I never watched not one episode. But they really... they pampered and took care of Kim. And Nene seemed to think it was because Kim was the only white lady on that show. I remember one reunion and she said, what have you done to get a show? Let me know. We all want to know. Now, all of the cast was kind of co-signing. They were like, mm-hmm. But Nene was the only one left speaking. Sometimes you got to be careful of that. People not going to have your back. Be careful. But this whole naked wasted thing Sharon has brought up, I believe Bravo has always been messy and shady to the point of where some of the producers, some of the things they do in the background, in my opinion, could be considered almost criminal. We know one of our least favorite producers, one of the ones I love to dislike, Carlos. He was over there doing all kind of stuff. He was instrumental in a lot of messy stuff. He was the one that would tell Peter to go at Nene. Some of that is harmless. Peter knew that if you want to get screen time, you bumble with the bee. Nene was queen bee, and so Peter would go at her. But we're finding out that a lot of these producers do a lot of behind the scenes that are seeing things that are really sneaky. Right now with this whole naked wasted thing, I'm disappointed in Gretchen. No one has to have officially roofied you. Tamra's on-camera actions were terrible enough. Tamra actually said, we're all taking tequila shots. Gretchen's getting double the shots. Gretchen's going to always have extra shots. Ryan's going to heavy pour her. All of this was said on TV. Bravo aired it. At one point, Gina Keogh at the time is on a confessional saying, I'm concerned about Gretchen. Gretchen's a little drunk. I'm pushing water in front of her. And we would see Gina, the producers showed us, Gina pushed water over here. They pushed back the drink over here. Ryan comes around to Gretchen's part of the table and ended up giving Gretchen her tequila back and putting the water back toward Gina. So this went on during the course of dinner. They were making all kind of sexual type jokes, which Gretchen had a big personality, big sense of humor. Vicki's husband, Don, is a really funny person. He was laughing. Now, remember, the backdrop of this was a fancy dinner party with a chef. The chef would come out, introduce the camera. Miss Classy Etiquette Class Lady is sitting back here conspiring to do this to one of her castmates. Excuse me, I'm going to have to turn the air on in here. 1 minute. Conspiring to actually do this to one of her castmates. So Bravo, the producers are there, the chef is there. To me, half the people were complicit in what was going on. The only people I'm going to call out is not having anything to do with it or anything to be ashamed of. I'll say I will call out as not having anything to be ashamed of or embarrassed about. Vicki's husband, Don, I didn't see Don doing anything that would be untoward or out of the way toward Gretchen. The same thing I would say about the couple, Lynn and also Frank. They offered to give Gretchen a ride home. Tamra denied on her behalf. She's going to spend the night with us. They wanted Gretchen to spend the night. I think Tamra wanted Gretchen to cheat on her fiance, Jeff, on TV with her son and make her look bad or break up her engagement. And y'all, they ended up never getting married. They didn't get married. Jeff was so sick when he was diagnosed with cancer and he was in the hospital, and Gretchen was spending the last months of his life with him, basically living in and out of the hospital. They didn't make it to a wedding. She didn't want to marry him in the hospital. And they were always calling her a gold digger, but I think a gold digger would have pulled Anna Nicole. Gold digger, they're going to have that ceremony on the inside the hospital room. Good morning, Mama 59 Works. That's my sister, my moderator. Welcome in. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Complimenting my hair. I showed y'all when I went to get it done in Harlem. Hopefully it's not too tight. The thing about it, you almost look like you have a facelift, but you got to be careful with them pulling it too tight. So this Naked Wasted episode, go back and rewatch. It's still on Peacock. It's still on Bravo. It is season 4, episode 8, Naked Wasted, because Tamra, Vicki, they're trying to lighten it up and trying to make people think that not too much happened. It wasn't an official roofie. I don't think that anyone said that. Gretchen did say that the next morning she still felt so ill after the impact of that night and all the drinking, and she felt not herself, that maybe something else had happened. She went to the hospital and she said 2 things. She said that something was found, and then later on when she realized that the person she was talking to, Katie, cannot keep anything close, and Katie's going to go back and tell all your business and maybe add some seasoning to it. When she found that out, they said that Gretchen's partner Slade ended up calling Katie and said, please don't mention this to anybody, what Gretchen told you. But I do believe that Gretchen probably did take a trip to the hospital to make sure that she wasn't roofied or that something else happened. But as far as Vicki going around now pretending that she doesn't know what roofies are and whether or not they were even invented at that time, yes, they were. And whether or not Ryan did anything to her, he didn't. I remember the episode. There was a scene where Gretchen stumbles, y'all. This is how drunk this lady was. She went into the bathroom. Ryan followed her in the bathroom. The Bravo producers were there. The Bravo producers were right outside the door. They had their microphone right at the door. We can hear Gretchen going, I think you're a really hot guy. I really like you. You're so cute. But you can't kiss me. You can't make out with me. You can't do anything with me. I'm engaged to a very sweet man. Ryan's going, why? Well, give me a hug. Give me a hug. This is a serious conversation that he was having with her, y'all. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. In the bathroom with her. So finally, the bathroom door opens and Ryan comes out. I think he said, okay, or something like that. He comes out. He didn't do anything to Gretchen that we know of. A few seconds later, Gretchen stumbles out, disheveled. Now, all of this is going on in Tamra's house. After Tamra had conspired, I don't know if Ryan was in on it, but I know Tamra told Vicki, we're going to get her naked, wasted. We're going to have her do something and make her look stupid. So they conspired to do all this on TV. It came up at the reunion, y'all, and they were showing embarrassed. Vicki was angry. Vicki dismissed it at the reunion. Oh, you're grown. You're a big girl. Stop trying to pretend that anybody is doing anything to you and forcing anything on you. We're all drunk. We're all drinking. That's how Vicki talks and acts. A 60-year-old fool. So it doesn't have to be an official roofie. I think what happened then, to me, disqualifies Tamra. Should have disqualified her from employment at Bravo. And I don't care what anybody says. I hope that in light of now, because we can see that a lot of things we accepted back in the 90s and the 2000s, we know now, when you know better, you do better. That was wrong on Tamra's part, on Ryan's part. Ryan was being weaponized by Tamra. I find him to be slightly a degenerate at that time. I hope all these years later he has changed, but he was 23 years old at the time. He was pretty close in age to Gretchen. Tamra was a co-worker of Gretchen. This was Gretchen's first season. I always felt like Tamra was jealous of Gretchen. And I'm really disappointed in Gretchen in modern day now, to 2025, not saying, yeah, in light of what I remember and even rewatching, I think that whole thing was terrible. It didn't have to be an official roofie, but the fact that they were conspiring to have me under the influence and then keep me there to spend the night to God knows what. And then even Andy Cohen at the reunion sweeping it under the rug. I think that was wrong. The whole scenario was wrong. So Naked Wasted, if you have not watched that episode, it's Real Housewives of Orange County. And it is season 4, episode 8. That's the name of the episode, Naked Wasted. And then the people that I would consider trying to be a friend to Gretchen, even a big sis to Gretchen at that time, I was really proud of Gina Keogh, who expressed her discomfort at the time, at the dinner. We were getting confessionals with Gina, saying she didn't like it. She was trying to push water on Gretchen while they were pushing more tequila on Gretchen. Frank and Lynn offering her a ride home. I thought that was really sweet. Lynn was probably one of the last Real Housewives that did not try to hide her financial problems. And I think it was because Frank, he didn't really share a lot with her. He didn't want her to know what was going on. But that eviction notice served on TV, that was the realest thing I'd ever seen. And I don't think that she should have been disqualified from being a Real Housewife just because she was having financial issues. I think a lot of people go through that. We do watch it for the opulence, for the money, for that sort of thing, if they have it. But if they come in faking the funk and it's robbing Peter to pay Paul and it's not really true, then I'd rather not see that. I'd rather see somebody like Lynn and Frank be able to fit in and be on that show, because it was really a real part of what goes on. So Real Housewives of Orange County, this is just an extra. I'm not reviewing the show. I don't know that I'll pick it up to review, but if something extra comes on and it strikes me, then of course I will put it on. Sandra P is free to move about the cabin. So I can disclose now that I'm in LA. It's related to what some of my content is going to be, a surprise that I have that should happen later tonight. And since we're on LA time, of course, I'm going to go live whenever that happens. So it's going to be a little later. If you're team replay on that, I appreciate you being team replay on that. And I will just clue you in on little things that I'm doing throughout the day. But the actual content that I'm preparing is going to be later on tonight. So I appreciate everyone that's able to join me during the live. Sharon, thank you so much, Mama Works, for coming in. Mama 59 Works, my moderator. And anyone else that's watching, I appreciate you as well. Click the like button. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And I will see you in the YouTube streets. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you.